Okay,
We're recording too.
All right,
here we
so
go.
start with this the drowning thing.
All right, Rob, you're up.
All right, one of the things, like when I was a teenager, I was probably 15 years old. Kind of a weird thing happened. I went swimming early in spring, and the water in ponds, lakes were still very cold. And my neighbor and I went for a quick swim at the beach. Water's extremely cold, colder than I thought. Swam out a little too far. Um, I started getting some cramps, and I was pretty far away from shore. Um, the rope area they had with little floats on it wasn't enough to hold me up. My friends got back to shore, and I was kind of out there getting leg cramps and stuff like that. And I was kind of panicking. I didn't know what to do. So um, I just relaxed, and I started floating. I would start sinking down into the lake.
Hmm.
But I felt like that's what I had to do, or I was going to die. So I felt like I had to relax just to get my and I was a really athletic kid at the time, so I was pretty strong. I was very athletic, but it didn't matter because I was having cold cramps. And so I just had to totally relax, and I'm floating down like really slow, and I can see it wasn't a real sunny day, but I could see kind of the light coming through the surface. I'm dropping like a stone, like, not stone, but I'm floating down like this. I probably got to about 20 feet, 15 to 20 feet down. Um, and of course, I had this life images flash, like they tell you when you're going to die, that you have your life kind of is a series of snapshots. And I saw that happen. So I pretty much thought I was a goner, and I accepted that because I was really helpless. I didn't know what to do. So anyways, next thing I know, uh, the light that was coming through the surface was stronger, and I felt a warmth come over my body, and I just swam to the top. Now, I have no idea how long I was underwater. I felt like I was under there for 10 minutes, but obviously I wasn't. Um, and I swam to the surface and got my breath. And I swam to my dad and a neighbor in a little sailboat about 50 yards away. And I had to swim to them to get on their boat. So I was saved, but I still don't to this day know how I survived that. It's like a real mystery to me. I keep saying I shouldn't be here because I really died in that lake. I thought I was, but somehow I didn't. But anyways, things started happening after that. I had my first illumination experience shortly after that when I was writing an essay for a high school project dealing with the Greek mythology. And in the middle of this essay that I was writing, I had this illumination thing where everything just turned white. I was in this space that was just pure white. There was no there's nothing in it. It wasn't a room. It was just somewhere. And it probably lasted about maybe 5 to 10 seconds. Um, but I felt like I was in some kind of an area that just totally filled my brain with all kinds of information. And I was so excited. I ran down the stairs to the kitchen where my mom was cooking dinner, I guess. And I told her, I had a pencil in my hand and I'm pointing the pencil at her. I said, "Mom, do you know that there's only one key to the secret of the universe?" And she looked at me and said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "There's one key to the secret of the unit to the universe." And and she didn't know what I was talking about. She just kind of looked at me like, "What? I have no idea what you're saying." And so I just ran back upstairs to, get back involved with my essay. But after that, everything changed with me because I was pretty much at that time a stoic athlete. My whole life revolved around, hockey and baseball and soccer and stuff like that. And I was 16 maybe. So I was a junior in high school. I had all the high school stuff, but I started writing a lot. I started writing a lot of songs. I started writing a lot of poems. I started writing automatic writing from some kind of entity coming into me, and I was just writing automatically. And there's a lot of things when I was reading over that stuff that's current today, stuff that's going on today that I was writing when I was 16, and I'm 66 now. So it was a long time ago. And um, it just seemed like strange things have occurred with me over the years um, that I never understood. I just kind of passed it off. But I really, when I was in New Hampshire, working in New Hampshire, I met this guy who was on a motorcycle, and he's supposed to be a carpenter, but he had no truck and tools. But he came to where I was working in an isolated area, and we were talking about out of the box stuff. We started talking about I didn't even know who Ospinski was at this time, but I was just talking about stuff that I thought about a lot, outer space and time. And he said to me, he goes, "There's a book you need to get. It's called The World of the Miraculous. It's written by P.D. Ospinski. So you need to go to the bookstore downtown and see if they have it. If they don't have it, you need to order it and start reading that." And he goes, that will answer a lot of your questions. So I did. I went down, they didn't have it. I ordered it. I started reading it. And that's when I started learning about Gurdjieff and Ospinski and all the Fourth Way and all these books that are explaining life from a different point of view. So I read all those books. So I became infatuated with the Fourth Way. Have you ever read The Fourth Way by Ospinski? It's a fascinating book. It probably took me, when I was in British Columbia, when Logan was born, it probably took me almost all winter to read it, because I just went over and over all of my notes, and I wrote down, underlining things and writing notes off to the side, because it was such a cool book. He pretty much was a mathematician, but he was he's combining math with a lot of esoteric and metaphysical things. He's trying to tie it all together. And as you know, a lot of this is happening now with quantum physics and all that kind of thing. But so I'm not sure if my drowning experience kind of started the whole thing. I don't know. Or the white light, or the white room, or the white area. I call it my illumination experience, because that's what people say, that's what that is. And that's the only one I've ever had. So anyways, if you wanted to discuss the multiverse stuff, or whatever it is, which happened not too long ago, you can kind of skip to that.
Well, do you think the lake incident, do you think that was some type of abduction or something?
I don't know. All I know is that I don't know what happened. I don't know.
Because you've got kind of missing time or something in there, it seems
There's a
like.
gap. I don't know. Like I said, I should have died in that lake. I really don't know how I was rescued, or I don't know. It's like one of these mysteries that I'll always look. I said, I really can't remember. Um, I don't. I just kind of recall a warming thing. It was freezing in that lake, and I mean, the top of the lake was cold. The bottom, where I was going towards, was probably 55, 56 degrees almost.
Hmm. Do
Um,
you, when you call it an illumination experience, did you see light, or was it just that, is that referring to you feeling like you woke up to the songs and the poetry and all that, or what do you, because I'm just trying to.
there wasn't like a specific light, like a shop, like a big light. It was
Okay.
just that I went into an area of total whiteness. I can't hard to explain. It's like if
Oh,
you,
you did see whiteness.
oh yeah, total.
Okay,
It's
gotcha.
total. It basically blew my mind into white, you know. And what it was like there's nothing to get a dimension on. There wasn't anything in the room, wherever I was, to say, oh, there's a window, or there's absolutely nothing. I just went into this white area.
Hmm.
But at the same time, my mind almost like got filled with universal knowledge, you know, more than I
Okay.
can handle. And I can't remember to this day like what it was, but I remember I was so excited that I knew that there's one key to the universe, and of course I didn't know what it was, because my mom said, "Well, what is it?" And I said, "I don't know yet."
I've had
So,
something similar happen. Well, I think some people are getting like these false bliss experiences, but I did have that, but I had something similar to yours where I was waking up, I was like kind of half asleep, half awake, and all of this information was pouring into me. And I was like, I have all the answers to everything. I can't wait to wake up. And then when I woke up, I couldn't remember a thing. But then I was writing a lot of songs and poetry and stuff just coming out of me. So that's just very interesting. So let's go. Well, actually, I want to ask one more question. With your songs and your poems, did any of that? Um, Like what's an example of one of those that that is showing how it's all playing out now? Like, can you give an example of something?
Well, there's one poem I wrote that did mention 369, which is Tesla's. He said it's
Yeah.
the secret to the universe to figure out 369, which is total non-physical. And I wrote a poem that had that in it, and I didn't even know who Tesla was.
Mm.
So if I can remember the poem, it goes like this, real short. It goes, down in the stronghold lies a piece of time in thine own eyes. It seeks to play a part of, part of me that stays away most of the time. Time pounds away on its tired old rungs, but I'll go on singing till the song is sung. They'll be impressed as I march in time and go on singing till the end of mine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to the end of time. 3, 6, 9 to the end of mine. And that was the end of the poem.
Wow.
And that was back when I was like 18, 17, I wrote that. I had no idea what 369 was until I heard on the radio, I heard on something about Tesla and 369. I said, wait, so I've heard of that somewhere, this 369 thing. And so I looked up all my poems and stuff, and there it was. I'm like, holy crap, man. Is that a coincidence?
Wow.
Is that a coincidence? Or so I was somehow informed of the 369. And then I'm telling my mom before then, the secret to the universe. And I said, there's one. And I emphasized one key. It wasn't a secret. It was a key to the universe. And
So let's get into the key, because I kind of feel the same way. Like I got a bunch of, either I opened up to my soul and remembered a bunch of stuff, or something was inserted or into my brain or whatever. But and then it's coming out piece by piece later. Do you? So I've talked about a key on my channel for a while, and we've mostly focused on a key to shut down the matrix. So I don't know if you believe the world is a matrix, but we did a lot of focus on that last year. And where's the key? Because I feel like there is a key. So did you get any more information on that?
no,
Okay.
369 thing, when I heard what Tesla was saying, that is the key to the universe, or the
Oh, okay.
so and I know that the 369 is not physical. It's a non-physical.
So this could have just been like the key to how it's made or something, not necessarily the key to how to shut it off or turn it on or anything. That makes sense. So where do you want to go from here? Go ahead and just keep on going here.
What about the first really real
Multiverse thing?
the abduction experience?
Then okay. Back in 1979, I just met Logan's mom, Karen, and I was living in the same house as her and a couple other nurses, and we had a mattress on the floor in one of the bedrooms. And one night, I was awoken by a strange noise, and I looked up, and there's this like really weird blue light coming through the window on the side of the mattress. And of course, I'm on the floor, so the window's up high. So I'm lying there, and I want to get up and look out the window to see what the hell that blue light is. It's just filling the whole room, and it's just so bizarre. And so I was trying to get off the mattress to look out the window, but I couldn't get off the mattress. It was like someone was holding me down, and I was like, "What's going on here?" And I thought, well, maybe I'm just too tired to get up, but it wasn't it, And so I'm lying there on my back, and I hear the funny noise. I see the light, and then I close my eyes, and then I can't remember if my eyes were closed or open, but I see a gray alien there in the corner of the room, and he's about 5 foot tall. I know it's hard to tell because I'm on the floor, so I'm just guessing he wasn't very tall. So, and he had some kind of like a hoodie, a funny looking hoodie, and almost like a shawl of some kind, or I don't know, something was covering most of his body, but he did have that little.
I don't think he was expecting you to wake up.
I don't know. He's standing there looking at me, and I'm kind of frozen, because only like 10 feet away. It's like, because he's standing inside with the door shut and looking at me, and I'm like, holy crap. So Karen is sleeping next to me with her back against me. So I hit her with my elbow. I kind of tapped her with the elbow to wake up because I wanted to see this. This is like so bizarre. But she didn't wake up. And I'm kept rubbing her my elbow in her back. I didn't even say anything because I felt almost like I either couldn't say anything or I wasn't frightened though. It was like almost like if you see something you've never seen before, you want somebody else to witness it so they don't think you're crazy. So I'm hitting her to wake up. You got to see this, you know. But I didn't say it. I was just hitting her or nudging her. Hitting her, was nudging. Anyways, next thing I know, I woke up and it was like morning, lights coming through the window. It's like 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, what the heck just happened here? And so Karen woke up and I said, did you feel me nudging you in your back last night? And she says, no, why? And I didn't say why. And before I said anything, she said, I had the weirdest dream last night, but it wasn't a dream. And it was so real that I was floating through space and I had all these eyes and looking at me in these different shapes, you know, triangles and rectangles and squares. And I was floating through space. And I said, do you remember anything else? And she goes, no, I really can't. But it wasn't a dream, she said. It really happened. And I said, well, and I told her why the reason I nudged her in the back. I said, because there was a gray alien standing in the freaking room. And I'm like, I wanted you to see it, but you wouldn't wake up. So, and I'm not quite sure if this is relevant, but when we got up and went into there's a bathroom in this room and the screen was off the window, like, and the window was low, like someone came in through the window, you know, like, well, that's bizarre. Like, why is that window screen out? But, so anyways, it was, and this is like 1979. So the whole thing with grays and stuff wasn't real popular. You know, they had the Barney Hill and Betty Hill story, you know, the abduction thing, but that was pretty much it. I know Whitley Strieber had come out with some books, but I'm not sure if it was before then, but I hadn't read any of those books, you know.
Yeah, I had his books. I was a kid, but I had his books.
Yeah, and I had the missing time and, you know, the whole thing. I got them afterwards though, because I really wanted to find out what really happened. You know, what was the blue light and all this kind of stuff, which I found later was common with these kind of experiences. It was like aquamarine light. They say is aquamarine is the color of the light. And then I saw pictures of the hoodie alien, which I drew a picture of in my diary. And then the next day, and then I saw that picture in one of Strieber's books, like years later, the same exact picture. You know, I'm like, holy crap, man! Somebody else saw the same thing. So, you know, when people say, well, I'm not sure if that's all true, and I said, I'll tell you it's true because I saw one, and I wasn't dreaming, and it was just as real as can be, as if a bear came through the door. You know, as I saw it. So, I've never really mentioned too much. You know, some people, but I don't look at it as being, I just look at it as something that really happened to me. And I know that they're there, they're here. And another thing that was kind of related to this story was I had lived in a condo just up the street from where this house was. It's right near the beach. And I lived in a condo that was right on the beach. And I rented a room from this lady, paid her per week to stay there, but I didn't stay there very long. And that's when I moved into with Karen at this house on the beach. So we ran into her about 10 years later. I saw her at a UFO convention in Vero. And I asked her what she was doing there. I said, Alita, why are you here at this UFO convention thing? And she goes, and she told me the story. She goes, well, it wasn't long after you left my condo. I was sitting out back in the porch, and I always look out over the dune and the ocean at night. And she had us having a cigarette or something, and it was around probably midnight or something. And these two UFOs came over the dune, and they just sat there. And they just sat there for 20 minutes. And she couldn't believe it. Like, she didn't know what was going on. They're just like they were looking for something. And now, again, this condo is only a mile from the neighborhood where I was staying. And I don't know if it was exactly the same time, but it was the same time period. And I said, well, did you see them do anything? And what do they look like? She said, well, they're just like a saucer shape. There's two of them, about maybe 30 feet long or wide or whatever. And there's two of them sitting there, just hovering there. They weren't making any noise or anything. And she was, then they moved on. And ever since then, she goes, I've been trying to figure out what's going on with that. So I don't know if it was at the same time period I had this experience. It might have been around the same time. I don't know. So that was kind of connected to, I thought, what happened to me. Karen was like, okay, this, so I don't know if Karen was abducted. She can't remember. I don't know if I was. I can't remember. I've never had hypnosis, and she hasn't either. So I don't know really what happened after. But she's the one that said she was floating through space, and she saw these eyes and these squares and different shapes and stuff. But so I'm not
They
sure.
probably abducted both of you. Were you ever in the military or
No,
no? Okay, interesting.
no military. And then, okay, so strange things. Of course, Logan was born in British Columbia a year later. And a lot of interesting things there. And then, of course, the twins were born in 87. A lot of interesting things there with the twins. You mentioned something about Mike, right?
I don't know if I did or not. It's definitely worth mentioning.
Okay, well, situation, those guys. First thing, Karen used to have to get up in the middle of the night to breastfeed them, when they're babies. And one night she woke, and she used to wake me up because I'd help her. Well, one night she got up on her own. She figured she'd do it herself. And she came into the bedroom around 3 o'clock and woke me up, and she was frightened. And I said, "What's the matter?" And she goes, "There's some kind of a beam of light coming in through the window of the front porch." And I said, "Well, there's probably a cop car going by and they're looking for somebody." She goes, "No, it wasn't a car. It was coming up from up higher than the road. And it's coming right through the porch and it was going through the living room, like looking for something." I said, "What kind of a beam?" She said, "It was like a blue beam of light. It wasn't like a broad light. It was a beam. And you could see it going across the walls. And I hid she said she hid in the corner. And she had come in to get me up because she scared the crap out of her. So I went out there and looked around. I didn't see anything. And I didn't know what it was. I couldn't explain it. Like, what was it? She said, "I was coming up from higher than the road. I don't know what it was. It wasn't a helicopter." And then we used to put the babies in a crib and have them their heads head to head. We put them in the same crib, so have them head to head. And then one morning when we got up after she did the breastfeeding, which she normally did, they were in opposite directions, like it was head to toe. And so I get up and they're all bundled up. I said, "Karen, did you move the twins last night, put them head to toe instead of head to head?" She goes, "No, I didn't do that." I said, "Well, how'd they get head to toe?" She goes, "I don't know, because they're all wrapped up." And so I said, "That's bizarre." And she goes, and then it's got so many things. And then one night we were woken up because the twins were in their two cribs. They're a little older in the cribs in a different room. And we woke up because they were laughing. They're laughing hysterically. And I said, "Karen," I said, "listen to those guys. They're laughing hysterically." And hey, Jenny. And so we got up to investigate. So we walked up to the door, it was shut, and they're laughing like crazy. So as soon as I touched the doorknob, they stopped laughing, totally. And then I took my hand off the doorknob, and they started laughing hysterically again. So I'm sitting there going off and on with my hand, like, what's going on in there, man? So I touched the door, they stopped laughing. I take it off, they start laughing again. So then I decided I'm just barging in. So I opened the door, went in, and they're standing up in their cribs looking at each other, and they look at me like, "Where'd you come from?" But there was nothing there, and I'm like, "What are you guys laughing at? What's so funny?" And they just looked at me like, they couldn't talk, so they're kind of like, there was something in the room, like playing with them. I don't know. And okay, so another thing with them.
The toys.
The toys. Okay, so we had a backyard, and I bought them a lot of He-Man and toys and stuff that, I spoiled them. I always bought them all kinds of stuff so I could play with. And I'd come home and they'd be all gone. I said, "Where are all your toys, man?" They're all out here, the He-Man and all that. Where are they? And they told me that they couldn't talk very well, but they said, "Mike," like Mike took them. And they pointed up to the tree in the back of our house, and Mike, and they're looking up in the tree. I said, "Who's Mike? Like, why would he take your toys?" And he goes, I'm asking, it's like asking a dog a question, they can't answer me. They just said Mike. So anyways, I decided to do an experiment. I told Karen, I said, "Listen, I want to find out who this Mike is." So I took one of Whitley Strieber's books, the one that says Missing Time and has that picture of the alien on the front, the gray, on the whole cover. So I said, "I'm going to put this book on the dining room table, face up. Twins are and high chairs, 2 high chairs, kind of near the table, but not like right over. So anyways, I have the book so it can be seen, but wasn't in front of them. And I said, so you guys, I really want to know who this Mike is that's taking all your toys. You know, they're kind of expensive, you know, like $6 each, man. And they're, you know, where are they going? And Ben goes, Mike takes them. And I said, well, who's Mike? And Ben looks over at this book and he points at that book and said, Mike. He pointed right at the alien. He goes, that's Mike. And I was like, freaking hair went up in my back. Karen looked at me. She was like, her eyes went like this. And I went, holy shit, are you kidding me? And it was just an experiment, but man, it freaked me out big time. So, you know, you get the beams of light, you get missing toys, which I had read in Strieber's book that's what they do. They like to take toys up to their ships because when they take little kids, give them something to play with. I guess that's one of the things, which I had not known that before. But so, anyways, that's kind of a couple of the kid things that are kind of weird.
Yeah, sometimes they appear to kids, depending on their age, they'll appear as something they recognize. But maybe they were so young that they didn't have to do that. They just showed themselves. But sometimes if the kid's a little bit older, maybe they'll show themselves as a clown or something that the kid can relate to. And then certainly have their toys there so they feel comfortable where they're going. But I'm just wondering, because I think Logan, I don't know if you're still there, but we brought this up where we thought possibly they've been messing with your whole family line because they have permission to a certain degree to do abductions, according to a lot of whistleblowers in our country, but they're doing most of them in South America, but they do have permission to do some here. Of course, I'm sure they're doing way more than they agreed to, but a lot of it, and I've been through it myself, a lot of it I think is creating hybrids. And so I'm wondering if they are creating hybrids and maybe just I don't know why because usually when they create a hybrid they keep that child, they take the child, but I'm just wondering if they're doing some kind of study on your family in particular and why they've chosen your family. It's just very interesting. So go ahead with
Another thing I wrote down here, when I had that implant, remember that?
That was probably about 10, 15 years ago.
It was more than that.
Was it?
Yeah. I had that. We're sitting down at dinner one time and something came out of my lip, from the inside of my lip, and I put it in my hand. I said, what the heck is that? You know, it's like this little rice shaped thing that was clear. You could see inside of it. And I didn't know what the heck it was. And I said, it looks like an implant, you know, like one of these alien implants, because I've seen them in books and stuff like that. And it looks just like this. So I put it in a box, a little jewelry box, that one of those real vacuum boxes, because they didn't want to lose it. And I put it high up in an area that nobody really should know. I mean, the twins are small. I don't know how old you are. I think you're a teenager.
No, I think I was in my early 20s.
Well, anyways, you knew where it was, right?
Mm-hmm.
I knew where it was. Logan, we were the only two. And I was meaning to take it someplace to have it looked at under a microscope because I wanted to know what it was. But I hadn't done it. It was a couple of weeks went by and I just got lazy. I forgot. Anyways, I come home one time, the box is open on the kitchen floor and the implant's gone. Like I don't know what happened because no one could reach it. So, and nobody could open the box. This type of box, it wouldn't open by falling off, and it was on top of an armoire and it couldn't fall off anyways, you know? So it was on the floor open and the implant was gone. I looked everywhere, I couldn't find it. And I'm like, someone stole the freaking thing. Like someone came and took it back, I guess. I said, how else can this be explained? It's like, nobody knew where it was. So,
and they wanted you to see that. That's why they left the box like that.
Exactly. I'm thinking, why would somebody leave a box open on the floor with the implant gone? Only to indicate to me that somebody came and took it because they knew that it was there. And they knew that it must have come off of my body from where they put it. And they didn't want me to take it anywhere to get looked at. So I guess, I don't know. But just finding the implant wasn't, to me, wasn't, I wasn't convinced it was an implant. I thought maybe it was just some kind of natural forming thing that happens sometimes. I asked people, they didn't know,
Yeah.
um, and so I don't know. The only reason I thought it was an implant now is because someone took it, and nobody knew it was there except me and Logan, and there's no reason to take it. What-
Yeah.
I've seen similar pictures of what that was,
Yeah.
which is like clear, and it has like these like dark spots on
There was
the
dark
inside.
spots on the inside, like some
Hmm.
kind of like a receiver of some kind. If I looked at it with a microscope, I would have been able to see what it was, but it was stolen before I had a chance to do that. Um, if that's what it is, and they're following me around, and there's something with my family, I don't know. It's nothing. Nothing's been bad, or evil or anything. It's always been, just kind of weird. But
Well, so what about that's a good segue into the missing time stuff, because this has always been really fascinating to me with like the first missing time experience that I know of, anyways, with you.
yeah, we had a lot of missing time things. Um, it's not really missing time. It's traveling from point A to point B, which normally should take an hour, and it takes 20 minutes. That kind of thing. And that happened to Logan coming back from the
Same,
airport.
yeah.
The airport would it
I
take?
was, I was coming back from Palm Bay.
To make from Palm Bay, it would take 10 minutes, 5
Yeah, it was
minutes.
like 10 minutes. Yeah.
But and so I told some friends of mine, and then I kept getting phone calls from friends of mine that had the same thing. So coming back from Cocoa Beach to Vero, one guy told me he's come from Cocoa Beach at Cocoa Expo, which is a baseball place, and he said he left at 3:15 from the field, and he got on the Vero Beach exit at 3:45, which is a half an hour, and it easily takes a full hour or more to get from Vero Beach to this place. And it happened with another friend of mine coming from the airport, which normally is like from the airport to Vero is about an hour and 20 minutes. If the traffic is good, he said it took him like a half an hour to get from the airport. And I told him about it. It happened. He goes, "It happened to me, man. It happened to me."
What about Thacker going up to the same
That's one
city, like over?
He's the one that went to the Cocoa Expo,
Yeah.
and he's like, I said, "Jeff, that's impossible unless you're going 150 miles an hour." And he goes, "Well, I just went the speed limit." And so he was kind of freaked out. And another guy, a good friend of mine, was coming back to Vero from Sebastian, and he hit there's a red light, a traffic light at 510 in US 1, and he waited there, and then he went through it, and then he saw another traffic light ahead, which there isn't one, or at that time wasn't a traffic light. But he goes, "I drove about a couple of minutes, and there's another traffic light," and I'm thinking, "There's no traffic light up here on US 1." He pulled up to the same traffic light at the 510 intersection again. He calls me in a panic, and he's freaking out. His voice is shaking, and he goes, "Rob, you're not gonna believe what just happened to me." And then he told me the story.
Didn't he see the same car and everything?
Yeah, there was a Lexus went from 510 across to the east side. He got to the next light, and the same thing happened. Like, in other words, the experience had already happened, and then he went to it again, and he was totally freaked out. And he told me later on, he goes, "None of this shit ever happened to me in my life until I met you."
So he was either going through like some kind of overlapping parallel universe, or he was stuck in a time loop.
Well, I know, the Bermuda Triangle comes pretty close to that area because it's right on the beach. It's like Wabasso Beach. And I looked it up. There's different triangles that they have, and one of them goes right near where this was. And I'm thinking, well, maybe it's a Bermuda Triangle situation. I don't know, but a couple other.
What about the one I really like is the newspaper story?
Yeah, the newspaper story is kind of weird. I get the Sunday paper, and I go out and get it. And one time I went out and get it, and I could see through the plastic bag that it was in that there's a story on there called "Living on the Tracks," and it was just a community story about this. Had a picture of this guy, and it was a story about him growing up in the tracks. His dad worked for the railroad, blah 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 blah. So when I got in, I took it out and I read the article, front page, third page, and it was kind of boring, but I read it anyways. And anyway, so like a week later, I don't know if it was a week or 2 weeks. It was a Sunday, same thing. And Karen's sister was visiting in town. And I went out to the driveway, got the paper, and I pick it up, and the same thing. Living on the tracks has a picture of this guy, and I'm like, holy crap, they already did this. Why would they do it twice? And so then I'm thinking, well, maybe the first time wasn't real. I don't know, but why would they run this thing twice? That's stupid. And so I brought it into the house, and I told Karen, I said, listen, they printed the same story twice. I hadn't taken it out of the bag yet. And then she said she didn't remember it. And I said, you didn't remember seeing it? Anyway, so I did an experiment. I said, okay, I'm going to let you take it out of the bag. Obviously, it has not come out of the bag yet. Take it out of the bag. I'm going to sit over here. I'm going to tell you what's in that article. And how would I know what's in that article if I haven't already read it? So she took it out. Her and her sister are looking at the article. I said, so before you just read, I'm going to tell you what's in it. So I did. I told this, mention this guy, mention this, mention whatever. I remembered it pretty well. And they went, yeah, that's all in here. And I said, well, guess what? Now you turn to page 3 because that's where the continuing story goes. Now, how would I know that? So they turned to page 3 and there it is. Living on the tracks, the finishing of the story. And so let me tell you what's on that page. So I told her what I saw on that page. And she goes, yeah, it's all here. So how would I know that if I hadn't already read it? And so they didn't know. And so I actually talked to people, friends of mine, if they've seen it before, they hadn't seen that art, they saw it weeks before or something like that. I even called the newspaper editor and I said, why did you run this article twice? And he goes, we didn't. That was the first time. And so I'm like, holy crap. Anyway, so that's one. I thought it was kind of strange. Like, come on, really. And then another one recently, well, not recently, it was a few years, 2 years ago. I had bought a new truck and I was taking all my tools and stuff out of my old truck and putting them in the new truck. And I walked towards the house for something and had all this white shit on my hands. It was like paint, but I have no paint materials on my truck. Nothing has white on it. And so I'm like, where the hell did I get all this white stuff on my hands? And now 3 weeks previously, I had used some white Flex Seal on something, but that was like 3 weeks before. And I did get it all over my hands, but it's kind of a latex, it's water soluble. I washed it all off, like I said, 3 or 4 weeks before that. So I'm seeing all this white stuff on my hands and I show Karen, I said, you look at this stuff on my hands. Like, what is that? And she goes, I don't know. You messing with some white paint buckets? I said, no, I was just taking tools out of the truck and I don't know where this came from. So I just went in the house and put some soap in my hands, hot water, washed, get it all off, right? It didn't budge. It didn't move. I'm like, what's going on? So then I went out and got some Gojo, which pretty much gets anything off, grease or anything. I'm rubbing my hands with the Gojo real good, rubbing it up, get a towel, dry myself off. It's still there. It didn't budge. It was like embedded in my skin or something. I'm like, I don't believe this. Like,
That's freaky.
Okay, then I said, okay, I went to my truck and got some PVC cleaner. So I use PVC a lot, glue and everything. So I got some cleaner. I took the dauber out and it's all on my finger. I'm rubbing it on my finger and it's not doing anything. It's not even milking up and changing. I'm like, what the heck is this crazy crap that's on my hands? I'm starting to get a little freaked out because I'm like, this is bizarre. I even showed Karen again. I said, look, I've tried everything. It won't come off. And she goes, well, what is it? If I knew what it was, I don't know what it is. So the bizarre thing, if that's not bizarre enough,
Right.
I had to go to a friend's house to dive his pool to check out a main drain problem. Put the weight belt on the wetsuit and the whole thing, got in there and fixed the problem. And then took off the wetsuit, dried off, blah, blah, blah. We sat there for half an hour talking and then I went home. So I'm driving home. I'm looking at my hands. It's all gone. Totally.
Oh my.
It was totally gone. There wasn't one little smidgen of any white shit on my hand. I'm like, that's impossible. Like water's not, if I use acetone, I wouldn't touch it. And I go into a pool and it's totally gone. I mean, totally. There wasn't even a little spot. It was like it was never there. And the only reason I know it was there because Karen saw it on my hands. If she didn't see it, I would have been like, maybe I'm losing my mind. But she saw it and I said, Karen, look at my hands. And she goes, what? I said, the white stuff's gone. Totally. And she said, well, how'd that happen? I said, I don't know. I got into a pool, fixed something, I got out and it's gone. I don't think pool water is going to do that. And I'm like, holy crap, man. I just stepped into some kind of a matrix universe here because it overlapped. Like it had a memory from 3 weeks before when that other shit got on my hands and something got mixed up. Like, oh, like someone running the show said, oh, wait a second, that was 3 weeks previous. We got to erase that. And so they erased it from my hands. Like it was never there. It was just an illusion. And till this day, I freak out about it. I'm like, I just don't know what the hell that was. So those are a couple of Matrix type things.
Yeah, it's freaky stuff because they screw with time all the time. But I had something similar to your first one where my ex-boyfriend at the time was in the room, and his mother, and she said, "Did you get the check I mailed you?" And I was like, "Yeah, I already got it," because she was buying some products. I was like, "Yeah, I already got it." And I had a clear memory. I went to the mailbox, I took it out, I saw the check, I saw the amount, and I already deposited it. And she said, "Well, how could that be? I just mailed it, so you shouldn't be getting it. You shouldn't have already gotten it, and it hasn't been deposited." Like they looked at me like I had three heads, and then lo and behold, here it is in my mailbox, even though I have a clear memory of already. So this is that Mandela effect stuff. This is the time loops, or the just constantly screwing with it. I mean, it's a wonder we're not all insane, but with screwing with us. So Logan, what do you think's going on?
That's a good question, and it's funny because this would be probably a topic for another time. But I have some weird things happen the last few days that are very relative to the things that he's talking about. It's funny, after we talked the last time.
I like your shirt, by the way. I've got my cup.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's cool. Synchronicity.
Yeah.
I had some weird things happen where I started to feel like, well, not feel like, having visions and actually seeing these sort of pods that were tethered to the toroidal field on the outer parts of the Earth, or the toroidal field of the Earth, where there's actual thoughts being kept in these things. It was the weirdest thing, to the point where I wrote a whole long, I wrote a long excerpt on this experience in detail,
Wow.
which I can't really explain without looking at it, because when I write, it comes out, and then it's much more easier to do it that way. But I feel like it has something to do with this controlled matrix. I feel like it is controlled, and what was told to me, it's very multi-layered, and I believe you've mentioned that before too, where what we're seeing and what we're feeling, even when we feel like we're awake and we know what's going on, it's kind of like it's a much deeper avenue, or a deeper field, when you start to break beyond these multi-layered levels of it, which is what I felt like I saw in this vision, and what was explained to me of what I wrote down. So I don't know. I mean, it's,
Yeah, I want to read that or hear that.
yeah, I can send it to you. I wrote it all down. I can send it to you.
My cat's trying to jump up here.
Well, I was just going to say that even though all this is happening, one of the things that I feel so strongly about is that I feel like that jumping into that, like when that happened, like with me, I'm getting all this stuff coming, it seems like it's negative, because it's like, well, where's the hope in that, or where's the light, or whatever in that? The thing is that we are so consciously strong as human beings that it's just an aspect. Even though it's deep, it doesn't mean that it's like we have to go through all these mazes to see beyond that, really, because it's sort of illusory. The matrix is an illusion, and it's meant to be multi-layered to make you afraid that there is no way out, but in fact that there is. And I think it's more simple than people realize, is my feeling. So
I think
Good. Yeah, I agree.
I think the light in it is discovering exactly what it is, what's going on, because Kitty wants to say hi.
She's up here trying to make an appearance.
That's good. That's good.
It's either get her up here on the chair, or she's going to chirp to try to lead me somewhere.
Sure, get up in the chair. We'll say hi. I see the tail.
I was trying to get her face in here. She's settling in now. Look over here.
What's her name?
This is Sequoia. Look over here.
Come on, Jacoya. Come on. Oh, she's pretty.
She's settling into her position there.
Yeah. She's pretty cat.
January made her grand.
Anyway, so probably, we got these things that happen that we don't understand. And I think maybe the journey to figure out what it is the light that we're looking for. Because, it's like if you don't understand something, you just kind of move on. And because what are you going to do? So I think this is good. If other people have the same situation, we might be able to begin to understand it, because everybody has their own different. Now, I don't know if these multiverse things that I'm seeing with me have anything to do with the alien abduction thing or whatever happened at that particular time. Maybe it does. I don't know.
Probably.
I don't know if it's a dimensional change. I don't know.
Well, you're on their radar now. They've been tracking you, and I'm not really sure what the criteria is, who they choose, but they work in patterns and the same things over and over. It's like the blue light, the this, the that, and they're not very original. So I think, like Logan, you're saying it's going to be easy for us to figure out and get out, because these are not original beings or sentient beings. They're or sovereign beings rather, but they want to think they are. So yeah, a lot of the stuff they're doing is just using tech and that kind of stuff, and screwing with us and everything undercover. And so, if they have to hide and be sneaky about everything, then it's, but I think we also, I don't know what you think about this, but I think we also have, well, let me go to this first, like with the overlapping, maybe there's overlapping realities, or there could be any number of things going on if you start screwing with time. So, but I think we also have possibly beings that are trying to help us too. And that would explain, like, you getting all that information and me getting all that information. It's like, I don't necessarily think those beings are part of this whole control system here, but it kind of feels like we need that information in order to defend ourselves, and or it's coming from our soul and wherever they're holding our souls. So I don't know.
Well, it could be information that's being slowly leaked to us through different ways, like with Logan and a meditation situation. It's like leaking this information, because it's too much information to just blow in your mind at once. So it's like, okay, it might take a long time, but that a long time isn't our time. Time itself might be something that's totally has a different measurement than what we're used to. I mean, a clock is invented to give us some order, of time, but the only thing that really regulates time is when the sun's down and when it's dark and when it's light. And back thousands of years ago, when they're hunting for food, they couldn't hunt at night. They only could hunt during the day. So they knew it was hunting time, and then it was non-hunting time. So we've invented the clock in order to do all this weird stuff with our time. And people look at time, the time is it's 9 o'clock. Well, it's not really. I mean, in the other parts of the world, it's just the sun is up higher. That's all. The sun is lower. It's going to be dark soon. So what's to say the time can't be bent or shaped? And then it gets screwed up, because they say, oh, that already happened. Like with your check, that wasn't supposed to happen. That was that happened already. It was happening again. It was a mistake. So it's like, how would you possibly think that was real? You're depositing a check. You went to the bank, you knew the teller. It's like, you put it in. But if you went back to that teller and you said, do you remember seeing me like a couple of days ago? They say, no, I don't remember seeing you. But in your mind, it totally happened. Like the thing with the newspaper with me. The only reason I could prove it, because I knew it was in the article. If I didn't read the article, I wouldn't be able to prove that I had seen this already. I reiterated what was in the article, which I would have no idea what was in there unless I read it already. So there's definite proof that there's a time shift, like a shift in some kind of a thing, whether you want to believe it's a matrix or whatever it is. Maybe it is. according to Elon Musk, the chance of being in a base reality is 1 in 2 billion. So the problem is, you try to tell people that they're not in a based reality. They look at you like you said, like you got two heads, and it's like, what do you mean? And like, if I could explain it to you, I would. um,
Right.
there's a lot of stuff out there you see, and it's like, I feel like I'm a babe in the woods here, all this stuff happening to me, and I don't have an explanation. I just know that, and Karen, I think she's still a couple months ago, she got up and said, I was floating above the bed, and I wasn't dreaming. I was floating, and then I was turned over, and then I was turned back. I said, what do you mean? She goes, I don't know for what reason, but I was floating above my bed, and I was turned over and I was turned back. I said, was it them? She goes, I don't know. I see, sure. I see, you weren't dreaming. No, I wasn't dreaming. It really happened. And I'm like, and there's other things that have happened. Seeing the owl in the window. You saw an owl in the window. And I said, I remember seeing that one show, the fourth kind, or the whatever it was. And a lot of times these ETs, they'll in your brain, they'll put something else there to symbolize that they're there, but they don't want you to see them. So they'll put an owl there. I've never, it was a white barn owl in our window. That never happened. So I said, Karen, that wasn't an owl. So
Yeah, they don't want you waking up, or they want you to go back to sleep so they can do whatever they want to do.
But she's
But,
definitely, I think she's been targeted since she was a child, because she's telling me when I first met her, how at the farmhouse in Canada, that she'd float down the stairs when she was a kid, like 2 years old. And I was like, what are you talking about? You float down the stairs. I said, what was carrying you? What was floating? And she thinks it was an angel. And I said, well, I don't know. I'm not an angel person, but
it was an angle. It was an AI angle ET.
I don't know, but it happened more than once. And I almost thought at the time when I met her, I said, she's crazy. She's telling me floated down the stairs, but she's adamant that happened. So I think that she's been on their list for a long, long time. And I don't think it was an accident that we met in the hospital.
Yeah, well, I mean, our government kind of signed us away, and we're supposedly citizens are owned by the government. So they can speak on our behalf and give this permission, because I find that it's still going on, even if you just say, I don't comply. No, I don't want this. But I do find that I wake up if something is kind of screwing with me. I'm like right there now. It's like, wake up, stop it.
Well, what happens to me, I call it the entity that comes in the middle of the night. And what happens to me is I feel it's tingling in my body, and I feel like my breath it's like I have 3 lungs, and I'm taking these deep breaths, and I kind of shrivel up, but I'm like feeling like I'm just, not me, like there's something going on. And then if my eyes are, I said, what brings it on is I'll have a weird metaphysical dream, like it's something that's happening that wouldn't normally happen, like the dog floating off the ground, like I'm dreaming it and I'm seeing it for real, but it's something happens in the dream that's metaphysical. It's like, this couldn't happen in a reality, whatever. And that's when this thing comes in. I don't know what it is. It doesn't seem to be malevolent, doesn't seem to be mean, but I don't know what the heck it is. And then my mind goes completely black, like it's just black. It's like I walk into a black room. I can't see anything. The lights are out, and I'm looking in my back behind my eyes, and everything's just totally black. So I can't dream. I can't see anything. It's just, even though my eyes are shut, and I know that, it seems like I go into a space that I don't know what it is. And so I wake up. I open my eyes and I go, what the hell's going on? But it's happened quite a few times. So I just call it the entity. And I don't know if it's a ghost story. I don't know.
Now, I would say malevolent. I mean, unless you invited that being in, it shouldn't be there.
Yeah, I don't invite it, and it's kind of like, but it doesn't scare me. It's just kind of weird. So I'm a little bit like disturbed, but it's not like some kind of demon or anything. It's just, I don't know what it is. I mean, it could be an ET of some kind trying to get in touch with me. And I just, because I don't understand how it's trying to communicate, that it kind of freaks me out, you know.
Well, it's disturbing your sleep. It's invading your space. So it'd be like any stranger coming in there doing that. It's just they don't have the right to do it, but they're doing it.
Yeah.
So I've been woken up by the bed going down a little bit, like somebody's leaning on the bed and trying to pull me up, and then I'm like instantly awake.
Oh, that reminds me.
Get out, because they're
That reminds me, pulling up when I was in New Hampshire back in 76, 75, and I was living in this um, house in Alton Bay. And of course, they have some ghost stories. There's a ghost in this house, which is established, you know. And I was living upstairs, and one night it was, I guess, about 5 o'clock. I was in the morning. I was pretty much asleep, but I felt like something was pulling me off the bed. It was really weird. Like I was getting pulled off, like, and I kept my eyes closed long enough before I got freaked out to the point where I had to sit up and go, what the F is going on here? But I felt myself being pulled, like, where? I don't know. But it wasn't like I was just pulled off a bed. I was being pulled in another dimension because I kept going and going and going and going. And I'm like, where am I going? And what is going on here? So I jumped out of bed and I went, what is going on? You know? So I don't know if it was a ghost thing or something else, but you mentioning the bed moving kind of memory mind, that was really weird.
So Logan, do you have any experiences where you think you may have been abducted in childhood or beyond childhood?
Well, we've talked about, that long gap in consciousness where I had recalled that morning where I was just gone an entire lifetime. So I don't know.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
And
20 and back.
Yeah.
That felt like a lifetime and back was what that felt like. Yeah, there's been quite a bit. I mean, teenage times talked about the astral traveling to different places like the Pleiades and Mars, and these haven't occurred for a long time. Just when I was a teenager, but there's definitely, I mean, I do have a memory of waking up and there being like 3 or 4 grays in the room. But see, I feel like that might have been a dream. Like I still to this day, I'm like, nah, maybe it wasn't.
Go ahead and fool yourself.
I know,
okay.
Right? I do remember it. It's when I was a teenager too. As I remember the bedroom I woke up, it was very hazy, and I could see like 3 of them standing there, and I was just like, but they didn't have any kind of clothing on. It was just their bodies and their heads.
Did they ever communicate a thought to you or anything, or did you get a sense of why they were there?
I don't remember that. That's just a memory, an image I have in my mind that always stayed there and never went away. I mean,
they didn't completely mind wipe you then. They tried, but
yeah, perhaps. I mean, what's happening now is that things are really starting to ramp. The energy's flying right now. So I can say like every day is just like a whole brand new day where I don't know what's going to happen, but it's exciting because I can feel this information coming to the point where I'm writing a lot more than I ever have before. And it's just, and I don't typically write, so it's like I'm writing in a way that I wouldn't typically write. It's the way it's coming to me. So I know it's something and it's for a purpose. That's exciting to me because I don't know, that's just exciting to me. And it's funny, it's like, my dad was just telling me earlier, somebody had seen a video that we had done that he happened to be doing a job for, and she just had no clue what the heck was being talked about. So it's kind of like, sometimes it's like, my point here is that I feel like there's a lot of people that are really completely clueless as to all of the things that, we discuss. And I'm kind of feeling like, no, more people are waking up, but I could be a little bit wrong in that scenario. I think there's a lot of people really asleep, and I don't know. I don't know.
Not unless you do an interview, a bunch of people. How do you know? I mean, it's like people I talk to, that's why I never really mention the gray thing with people, because I don't want to look at them like, what are you, crazy? And they all think, well, maybe you were dreaming. I said, how can I tell you I wasn't dreaming? It's like if I was in the woods and a Bigfoot came up on the path and looked at me, and I looked at the Bigfoot and I said, you're not going to kill me, are you? I'm looking at a Bigfoot, and if I tell somebody that, well, you sure? It sure wasn't a dream? No, man, I was walking in the woods and I came upon a Bigfoot. It's like this whole alien thing. It's like, it's not a dream. It happened.
Yeah.
But it
Well,
wasn't
it's,
very vocal
you'd be
about it.
amazed how many people have had experiences. They just don't want to talk about it. And a lot of people, of course, they knew I was a weirdo. So over the years, they would come up to me and say, well, I can't tell anybody else, but I know I can tell you. And they tell me about their UFO experience or their abduction experience, and sometimes it would just be people I'm working with, like in an office, and that every day working together. And then half of them have a story. So I think you're not alone. I think a lot of people are going through stuff, but we have a tendency, if we can't explain it, to just put it on the back burner, forget about it. Let's move forward. There's nobody I can talk to about it. So, and I don't really want to know. So I'll just
I
keep.
think, yeah, I think that like this situation is important because um, people that see this, or I told a few people, not many, a handful maybe over the years, because it wasn't like I don't want any recognition or anything. I don't want anybody from some kind of MUFON calling me and saying, "Well, we have to talk to you." I'm like, "Why?" A simple thing happened. It really happened, and what I can tell you is not going to change anything. I don't remember anything. If you want to hypnotize me and all that, I don't know. I don't know if I want to do that, but
No, I don't know if I want to remember these.
I don't know what the relevance is. I don't know what's going to change anything. But I definitely, when you talk about these abductions, they've been doing this for hundreds and hundreds of years. It's like, don't you get enough like information? I mean, I would think if you're that intelligent that you could look at one human being and figure totally what's going on in one day and just say, okay, well, they're pretty much the same and they pretty act, what is it they're looking for? Like, what are they doing? It's like, did they implant? If they put an implant in, what do they want? It's one NOR AM for some reason. I don't know. I just don't get it. I don't understand. If I was, I don't know. It just seems to me that I think the reason is a little more complicated than what they're look. They're
That's
doing
another
things.
long discussion, but yeah.
They're doing
And
stuff to us that we have no idea why they're doing it. I don't know if it's a DNA restructuring. I don't know if it's,
yeah,
they're trying to, like you said, as far as hybriding and stuff like that. I don't know.
hybridizing. Another thing is, I think is our DNA is very valuable on these whatever markets, these beings. I think they trade DNA, and so I think ours is very valuable. But also, when they keep screwing with us, then they want to see, okay, what are they going to do now that we've screwed with their DNA again? Now what are they going to do? But it's also a control thing. They like to control. And we have no idea how much time has passed. I mean, how long they've been doing this, if it's been a long time, if it's been a short time. Um, they just keep us confused, so we don't know what's going on. But I do feel like our DNA is traded and is highly valuable. So
Maybe they're seeding other planets. I don't know. Maybe they're
probably,
establishing other planets because obviously there's billions of other planets because there's billions of stars. So maybe there's a lot of habitable planets that need to be seeded. And
I agree with that. Yeah.
so I could see it's like bootlegging. And they're bootlegging DNA. I don't know. It's like a Star Wars episode when the guy has a bunch of canisters of DNA and it's like, oh, how much you going to get for those? It's like, and it could be they're just bootleggers. I don't know.
I think it's part of it. And they
I never thought of
obviously
that.
like your family line. So they
Yeah,
like,
they want to create a race someplace, a good race of people, I guess, and you take DNA from people and certain people, and it's like farming. They're basically farming DNA.
they're
Uh,
doing all kinds of stuff. Yeah. So multiple reasons.
if that's all it is, I'm like, well, whatever. It doesn't seem to change anything. Except what happens is with me is I have this feeling all the time of like some kind of a misunderstanding, or I need to know something because of all this has happened to me. I feel like I've been there, done that, as far as going into the white light. That I almost feel like I've died already. I've been there, I've been through the door, and now I'm not afraid of that anymore. But I was definitely afraid of water for quite a while. I wouldn't even go swimming 5-6 years. I didn't go near a pool or anything. But now that's my profession. Like I'm in the pool business where I dive pools all the time.
How big
So
was that lake that you were in?
It was
Was it a
big.
small lake or was it a really
Oh,
large?
it wasn't like one of the Great Lakes. It was kind of a lake that was in Massachusetts. I don't know. It was a big lake though. The part I was in was a small part of the lake that had a beach and that people go swimming there. And they had it roped off with little floats in the rope. And it was deep though. I mean, it was probably, just guessing, probably 30, 40 feet deep, I think, at that particular area. And
Well, I
I,
know some of these beings exist underwater. They have ships underwater and stuff. I don't know if it would be in a lake, but
I don't
um,
think it was anything like that. I don't know. I just pretty much, I pretty much feel that that wasn't the time for me to go. So, something saved my life. I don't know what it was. Um,
maybe it was some elementals or something, some elemental beings of like water beings or something.
I don't know. Could have been. I mean, I can't, as much as I try to recall, obviously I was in a desperate situation. But you know what? I wasn't afraid. Like, I thought I was going to die as a 15-year-old kid, but you get to a point where you just kind of accept your fate, and then all of a sudden it seems like there's a calmness that came over me, that realizing that that was it, and I accepted my demise, and that's when I was uplifted out of the lake, when I accepted as being done. And it's like someone said to me, "No, you're not done yet." And then I was lifted out of the water, you know. So that's all I can remember. I just remember that it was really bizarre. I really should not be here.
Yeah,
Some
that could use some looking into more. Uh, because when you're lifted up, that's like technology being used on you. So it just makes me wonder, what's going on. But
Yeah, I can't. It's not like I felt somebody lifting me. I just felt like all of a sudden I'm 20 feet down, and I just had the ability to swim to the top or whatever was helping me. I don't know. All I know, I remember being at the top, out of the water, breathing, um, wondering how that happened, and then getting over to this little boat that my dad was on, trying to come over and save me. Um, so it's still a mystery. I don't know. Uh, it's not, it's like a near death experience. You know, some people have a death experience where they actually die, and they're dead. They could be dead for minutes and minutes. Like that one lady was dead for what, 2 hours. The one that,
there's always some being that says, "Oh, it's not your time." So
Yeah.
so that to me is kind of like the controllers. I think maybe they did something to you and then you got left there. Maybe they abducted you, you got left there in the water and then you're cramping and it's like, so then they've got to like shorten your time thing or something. So, okay, now you're in the boat, now you're saved or something. I don't know.
that was. I mean, it was.
Maybe an abduction gone wrong or something. I don't know.
I did have the flashing. You know, of my whole life up to that young age. I saw certain things like pets and doors and houses and baseballs, and like someone's just playing this really quick, you know, shuffle game with pictures, and um, that definitely happened. You know, they say my life flashed in front of me. It definitely did. I experienced that because I thought I was going to die, and but I didn't die, and so it's like, why not? So I should be dead, really. But anyway, it's kind of interesting to think about it. Why? You know, if I wasn't here, he wouldn't be here. The kids wouldn't be here. Like, you know, this whole thing would be different.
It would be a different landscape.
It'd be different, everything. You know, maybe this is all design. You
Maybe
know,
that was your soul coming in and saying, nope. Could have been one of your death doorways and you decided not to take it or something too. That would be something I'd have to go in and read on because that's like that's really interesting, the what happened in that scenario. But
well, there's a thing on, was it on YouTube about that? I forgot what it's called. On Netflix, maybe. Talking about people that had near-death experiences, or death experiences, and they kind of, it's a chronicle, kind of like a documentary on people that's had happened to, which is pretty interesting. Um, that one lady, like I said, that drowned in a kayaking incident, she was dead for hours, and they revived her, and she was recalling what she remembered. And
Hmm.
she said
Wow.
she went into an area that they said, no, you're not. And she knew people there, and they said, it's not your time. And they got her back to life. It's like, wow, man, that's crazy.
Logan, who do you think those people are that are saying, hey, it's not your time?
Um,
Oh, maybe it's the people running the show. I don't know, the
yeah,
Matrix show up there. They're just
That's what I think.
I think that we want to believe that. See, there is something about the process of death that we just are not informed about. So what's very scary to people, my feeling is that it shouldn't be scary at all. It really is not, because when we're really in touch with our soul tells us we're infinite and boundless. That automatically kind of creates this awareness that in the face of, say, death or any type of fearful experience that kind of carries the magnitude of death, that it just wouldn't be there, right? So to me, it's kind of a funny thing to think about, that when we die, there's these beings that are carrying us somewhere, like to the heaven or to this place of peace, when I kind of feel like, well, we're intrinsically really that as a pure spirit. So to me, it's a little bit of a story. I feel like it's a story. So then I ask, well, if it's a story, then what creates it to be a story? If that's the case, then we got to add another kind of idea here or theory to this, which would be that maybe it is controlled, that maybe that, we are a part of our being, an aspect of our consciousness, not our spirit or our soul, but an aspect of what we are psychically connected to in consciousness is retained, is in a container. It's there. It's being held specifically. I'm going to send you a copy of this that I wrote down, and just see if you resonate with it, because it explains this through what was coming through to me. It explains what's going on with these weird tesseract cubes that are containing thoughts, trauma, basically thoughts of trauma in these things. I feel like it's the trauma that's keeping people in this loop over and over again. So it's when the people really start letting go of this trauma and just let it all out and go. You can't keep you in the loop anymore. It's like you begin to fly. It's like, okay, there's no matrix here, and there's not a grid to keep this, because what keeps the matrix alive, in my opinion, is number one, the lies, and number two, the fear. And if you don't have the lies and you have truth and you have no fear, what is there to grid? What is there to create a matrix with, right? That's the pureness outside of it, in my opinion. So yeah, death, I just feel like
and watching that documentary, I remember just one guy that died, and I don't know if it was a car accident or what, and he went into the next dimension of death. I call it the death dimension. And he went there, and he didn't want to come back. He wanted to be there. He wanted to stay because it was so comfortable, and he said it was so wonderful. When I was told I had to go back, I was like, no, I don't want to go back. and so that tells you something about the next dimension that we're headed to. But the trouble is, if everybody knew how nice it was, everybody would start shooting themselves in the head. So it's kind of like it's like you can't.
Well, this is
it's got to be that fear you're talking about.
This is the thing. This is to see people are addicted to this, because this is how they keep coming back in the loop. See, it's like people they're so traumatized in this lifetime that they want to die, because they've already had the experience of that false blissful feeling of not having the body. So they're in the light body. They're in this blissful state. But the thing is, it's like, you have to come back. You cannot not come back here until you have become complete or actualized. Before you're actualized, it's like you're going to come back in the matrix. So people will kill themselves. They'll commit suicide, and they'll come back and go through the same trauma just so they can die again and feel that blissful feeling. Does that make sense? But then
yeah, it's a false bliss. Yeah, right. We've talked about that. Yeah,
right.
They can induce any kind of emotion on you. So anyway, well, I've really enjoyed your stories and really appreciate you coming on and sharing. And I'm sure other people that have had similar things happen. I'm having the sun come in at me here.
I can see it.
But I'm sure that other people will appreciate you sharing as well, because they can relate to somebody that's had experiences like they have. So really appreciate it.
It's all real. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
Nothing's made up here, so
Yeah, what purpose would you have in making it up anyway?
Exactly. It's
So,
one of those things that just don't share much with. So,
but I appreciate it, and I don't think you're alone. I think there's at least half the people have probably had similar experiences, if not
yeah,
more. So, like I said, they talked to me about it because they couldn't talk to anybody else. But and that was back in the 80s and 90s, and because you didn't talk about it then, but it's starting to become a different world now.
it
But
seems the
anyway,
70s was a hot period too. When I watched some shows that
yeah.
a lot of it happened during the 70s. So, um, I don't know why the 70s was so important, but that's when everything kind of started. All this UFO stuff. Um, anyways, it's pretty cool. We'll
Yeah,
get
thanks. Anything else that you want to close with, or
No, I don't know. Probably I just can't remember.
okay? I can't remember anything either. So
I tell you, this guy right here, he gets probably mind wiped more than anybody.
You get what?
Mind wiped more than anybody.
Yeah, if it came in rolls.
you and I would be in competition for that.
Yeah.
For the mind wiping.
The trouble is they're affecting my regular memory, so I can't remember where to put my car keys or truck keys. One time I put them in the freezer. I can't find my cup of coffee because I left it in the microwave. I'm like that kind of thing. So
I'm forgetting stuff I should know, like, and I knew it maybe a couple days ago, and I've known it for years, and then it's like, why don't I know this? Why can't I remember this? It's just very strange.
I
Yeah.
think with the mind wiping thing, it affects other parts of your memory, and because of course, people think, oh, maybe you get Alzheimer's or something. I'm like, no, it's just like it's stupid. I should memorize.
No.
I should know that. So maybe there is an effect. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I was the spelling bee champion, and sometimes I'm like, I don't know how this word is spelled, and it's like, how can I not know how this is spelled? Just crazy stuff sometimes like that. So yeah, I definitely think the mind wiping is not good for us. So anytime that you can say, wake up if they're trying to do something, or say, I don't comply, no, all contracts broken, the better, because I don't really think they should be doing all this stuff to us. It's ridiculous. So,
But not if it affects our memories and stuff. That's not fair.
well, I didn't agree to it, so I'm not
No,
gonna.
I didn't sign any
I
document.
want some gray coming in my room in the middle of the night.
Yeah, it's
Disturbing. So
yeah, it's like you said. It's like if I went into my neighbor's house and woke him up and said, "Hey, man,
I'm just gonna stand here and watch you and your wife sleep.
yeah, do you mind if I take some experiments here? I might have to take a
I'm gonna
note.
take a little sampling of your DNA. You don't mind, do you?
Yeah, I'm just gonna stick you with this needle. You wake up with a weird mark in you, man. It's like that happens too. But
I'm going like in the dark and
Yeah.
in the light. It's like getting ready to hit me here. But well, I've got a reading I've got here in a little bit, so I got to sign us off. But super
All right.
interesting.
Well, thank you
I
very much.
appreciate it.
Awesome as usual.
Okay, and you've got it recorded, so I don't need to send it to you. So
Yeah, we got it. We're good to go.
all right,
All right, we'll be in touch.
thanks.